It's tea time, ladies and gentlemen. Germs and bacterias.
Man, it's not a good sign if we're struggling for words on our second episode.
I know. Shoot. Good luck.
So stay tuned in 2 weeks for the fourth episode.
Right. Yeah, watch
I don't know what they're actually saying.
Steady
I need to turn the subtitles on in order to make sense.
Oh my god!
It's like, are they talking backwards like in the David Lynch other?
Yeah. It's actually a Tenet spinoff. That'd be insane. Oh man, the new Anyway, shout out to Christopher Nolan. I know he's a big fan. All right, so what do we got going on?
Yeah, we are doing some traditionally stored raw pour from Yee On tea, 2003. Here you go, 2003 raw. It was a tool. They were kind enough to send me a sample of this. So this is just our rinse here.
Nice. You know when there's bad grammar on the label in English, it's going to be good.
Is there bad grammar?
Yeah. 2003 years.
Okay.
Raw puer from the Phoenix factory. So it's Chucha, Koicha.
Okay. I've learned to totally tune that stuff out. So I'm like, is there?
Yeah.
Yee On, we brought on a couple of their teas. They specialize in this really traditional Hong Kong storage stuff, which is not for everyone, but I think Denny and I both are fans, so kind of excited to have this tea. Yeah. And when you're having 4 teas, you cannot go 2 balls to the wall in terms of like Young Raw or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And to your point, so the older these raw puers get, the more mellow and they become traditionally. I mean, not necessarily. I'm sure there's counterexamples, but you'd expect these to cool off a little bit and get a little bit less abrasive. So, and the color-wise, frankly, at this point, it's so dark, I would almost expect it to be a ripe.
Yeah, and look at that color, that clarity.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Right. And, people commonly ask question, I think, for newer drinkers is like, when does raw eventually approach ripe? And the answer for just about all the time is it doesn't. They're very different things.
Yeah.
But ripe is trying to really mimic sort of this sort of fermentation level, at least.
Yeah, it's so hard to get these flavors. I mean, okay, so a little pencil shaving vibe going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hashtag pencil shavings. Yum. Smells great. And a little bit of an OD smell to it as well.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. It's gonna be a little warm.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woody, creamy.
Yeah.
This is just like very soothing to the stomach.
Yeah. Thick. Yeah, actually, sweet coming in now too. There's definitely like a very strong woody. So there's like green wood, which is like sapling green, verdant, and that is not what this is. It's more like autumn leaves wood. Really beautiful sweetness happening in this too.
Yeah. Denny, I don't know if you have had dim sum takeout at all during the pandemic, but I used to always eat in for dim sum, and then but we have done takeout from dim sum restaurants a couple times.
Yeah.
And I always like to serve teas sort of like this and just overbrew the shit out of it, and because you have to in order to like taste it with food.
Yeah.
And it's just a really nice combination.
Totally. Yeah, I completely agree. Haley loves dim sum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's always a battle between I'm like, oh, let's get Sichuan. She's like, oh, I don't want dim sum. So she usually wins. That's not true, actually. I'm pretty bad. I'm usually like, oh, but what about Sichuan?
Yeah.
Anyway, really tasty, sweet, syrupy.
Let us know in the comments if you're team dim sum or Sichuan. I don't think I could pick between those two. I love them both. Dim sum for me is what I grew up with, having a Cantonese family. So same for Denny too.
Yeah, my Cantonese family and I really enjoyed dim sum.
But Sichuan is pretty wonderful too.
There's a dim sum place in Seattle called King's. and you go walk up like upstairs, and it's like loud as hell, and it's the traditional dim sum thing, and the carts walking by, and you're trying to have a conversation, the lady's just barking at you. It's freaking great.
Yeah.
So,
the ruder, the better.
oh yeah,
Usually
yeah.
dim sum.
If you expect to have any conversation,
Yeah.
you're not ready for dim sum.
If they're too nice to you, then you should just walk out. Just find another place.
But I totally agree.
Same thing with the bathroom. Too clean.
Oh my god.
Go ahead.
These sorts of teas are so good for how flavorful and strong they are, but how you can just hammer them with time and heat, and they'll still remain like pretty smooth and just get bolder. And yeah, to pair with a really fatty, flavorsome meal, it's perfect. So not something you would eat or drink with salad.
Yeah, chicken salad with some dank puer.
And I love the texture on these older ones too. It's so nice. Just like it's it's a physical sensation, as much as it's all physical, but it's a feeling sensation. And yeah, really delicious.
Yeah, a little fruity on this one, in like a way that these dank puers are, which is fairly different from other puer.
Yeah, exactly. You would expect more of a cherry flavor. I'm getting a bit more of like a currant.
Right.
Darker fruit. Almost like blackberries.
Yeah. Very smooth. Compared to traditionally stored ripe, this is there's a little more complexity of flavors here. There's a little less of that like ginseng and Chinese medicine. There's still some of that in here, but it's a little bit less. I'm just trying to think of the differences because I was drinking that earlier this morning.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
Steep number 3. Definitely want to keep that water quite hot for this sort of tea.
Yeah. And even though I'm still experiencing a lot of taste and flavors, really still enjoying this tea, long-lasting impact, it's not like the sort of mouth-puckering tannin sourness that you can get from some teas and wine and things like that too. Yeah, really nice. I'm really enjoying this. Actually, this tea, to your point though, unlike some of the oldest raws that we've had, this tea I think has a lot more overlap with the red puer flavor profile, at least in its kind of woody characteristics.
Yeah.
And some of the sweetness, which is interesting because you can tell it's not a ripe, but there is a lot of familial similarity. So
Yeah. I mean, in terms of just like darkness of brew and smoothness and stuff like that, it very much performs like a ripe in the sense that if you want something like this, that's like not going to be overly aggressive on your stomach and stuff like that. This is a very good candidate.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna actually have a meal and then come back and keep going.
Yeah.
Yum. Smells great too. Yeah. So okay. Mom test.
No.
No?
No. I mean, do you think?
I think here's so only reason why I would say maybe would be there's nothing about this flavor profile that's particularly abrasive. It's not very familiar.
Yes.
Right? It's not like necessarily an easy sort of flavor profile for someone to be like, oh, I'm used to drinking something that tastes like this. So definitely not that. But it's got a sweetness and I think someone who never has had tea before would be like, this isn't tea.
Yeah.
Right? They wouldn't have any context to place this in. But with that being said, I don't know, I think the flavor profile is actually pretty approachable.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Like even compared to other teas like this, or do you think compared to other teas like this, or just the profile of this type of tea in general?
For this specific tea, compared to other old raw puers, I think this one in particular is a bit more approachable than other ones.
Interesting. Okay. Just because it's cleaner, or?
It's just not as strong. I mean, not strong. It's just not as there's not as many intense flavor notes. It's strong. I don't know how to describe it. It's a potent flavor profile, but it's not necessarily as abrasive.
Okay, interesting. Very
so,
interesting.
I don't know. I think some people would find this actually pretty enjoyable. Certainly novel and interesting.
Yeah.
And not off-putting. Maybe that's like the way, but it's in kind of a double negative. It's not off-putting.
And I think it's also true when we talk about the mom test. It's like certainly some teas would pass it for some moms and not others. We're just speaking very generally speaking.
Platonic form of mom.
Yeah.
The universal mom.
Yeah. The gender neutral mom.
Yes, the mom goddess that we all know and love.
Okay. We'll do one last one.
Sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. It's always when we're filming, we always shoot footage at the end to get some kind of close-up shots. And I'll just drink through like the different four teas we have back to back to back. And I can just tell this one's going to be so radically different than the tea we just had before and probably the one we'll have after.
Right.
Yeah, it's just smack dab in its own profile of interesting flavors. Getting a little bit of the minerally chocolatey roasted cacao flavor, small amount on the aftertaste. Nothing super strong there, but yeah, interesting fruits, a lot of kind of wood.
Yeah, this is definitely of the garden variety. Like out there,
but not necessarily like tomato vine sour.
Okay.
But definitely like you're rooting in the garden. Yum. Damn.
Yeah.
Times. I love drinking tea.
Yeah, a tea like this is not challenging also. And there's something very nice about that. It's very comfortable. I mean, challenging maybe in the sense if it's new for someone, but, I think this profile is very comforting for you
Exactly.
and I.
That's almost the better, positive way to put what I meant by them passing the mom test. It's not that there's anything in here that you're just like, I have to like kind of mind over matter through this taste. I'm not familiar with it, so it's odd.
Yeah.
I think this is actually pretty approachable, however potent. In terms of parameters, it looks like James is using 80 milliliter.
85,
Okay.
yeah, 6 grams. But, a tea like this, not unlike the black tea, pretty flexible.
Yeah.
I think I could probably even lean on this harder, especially if I was eating it with food like dim sum. I would definitely lean on this quite a bit harder. But for this, when we're just having it solo, I think this is perfectly fine parameters.
Yeah, and just actually the quality of this tea in terms of clarity, lack of gunk. I know it's been Hong Kong stored and probably had some accelerated aging as a result, but nevertheless, really clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that these traditional Hong Kong storage will do that the people that are against it won't tell you is they'll store it very intensely, but that intense storage is just for a couple of years, and then they'll usually store it in a much drier facility for a while. And ideally, that sort of drier facility that's stored on later is going to really clean it up, the taste and stuff like that. So there's a reason why they don't necessarily go straight from super dank to table.
So good. It's getting really sweet.
Yeah.
Kind of got over a lot of those kind of charcoal, stronger, earthier notes, and still there 100%, but now it's getting that sweetness back. Really good. Yeah, I would strongly recommend this.
Yeah, so
super tasty.
That is Yee On tea, the 2003 raw Phoenix tool. I recommend them for both the raw and the ripe. I think it's quite solid. But I think it is time for us to get some food in the bellies before we go on to round 3 and 4.
Oh my god, it's just how do you Google for Yee On tea? Yee On tea? How do you spell it?
Yeah, Yee On tea, YEE space ON. If you see a bunch of older pu'er and stuff like that, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
They actually have a very modern website. They did a good job on that. So, I mean, I really appreciate them just bringing that extra access to the Western world of something that really is a very localized specialty from Hong Kong.
Yeah, indeed. And it is a specialty as well. Check it out online. Check us out online. Subscribe if you want. Don't subscribe if you don't want. Or if you want to not subscribe. Get your dog to give us a like on Instagram, though.
And if your dog doesn't have an Instagram, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah. Geez.
What's wrong with you?
God.
How could you?
Yeah. It's
Poor
dog
Fluffy.
101.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
So with that zinger, tdv.org for written content that is expansive, just tables of content, pricing. James is a god. James is the almighty tea god, and I am but a mere peasant. I am a Padawan of the tea lord himself. So, check us out online.
He's required to say that, or he's going back to poor prison.
Yeah.
it's
part of my contract.
In the contract,
yeah. Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Cheerio.
Cheerio.
What? Hong Kong's a British colony.
Oh, yeah. What are we thinking?
Duh.